The year is 1996. Sonic & Knuckles was awesome. Sonic 3D Blast is set to be, well, a thing. But what of the old Game Gear? It's still toting around an old 8-bit processor. Keep in mind, the N64 had released just a couple months before. Don't tell it that. It's got to go out in its own way. Thus, behold Sonic Not 3D Blast, the last Game Gear title. In Japan, anyway. And, unfortunately, it tried too hard to go above and beyond itself. Sure, there were new and interesting tricks making their way into gaming, like 3D modeled sprites. Those weren't just for the likes of Sonic 3 and Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario RPG, though. Sonic Blast wanted its piece of the action. And, well, it's shiny, but shininess does not an awesome game make. Let's get this clear. This is as close to the modern Sonic console experience as the Game Gear would ever get. Sega's handheld always had a strange off-the-mark interpretation of the Blue Hedgehog, hamstrung by its weaker architecture in the face of the Mega Drive's power. Sonic Blast, though, does everything in its power to bridge this divide. As such, you get to play as either Sonic or Knuckles, whose sprites have been adapted directly from 3D models, running through series standard stages in an attempt to stop Dr. whatever Sega calls him in this one. I've lost track completely. Anyway, while it's a brilliant attempt at pushing the power of the Game Gear to the absolute limits, that ambition comes at a rather drastic cost. Sure, the sprites are huge and detailed, but as the Game Boy Mega Man series can show you, and as Mega Man and Bass made abundantly clear, when sprites get larger, the rest of the game is usually made to suffer. You're losing context as the ratio of your dude to everything you can see increases. And in the case of a platformer, especially one where speed is of such a concern, losing that context usually means you're going to be face-planting walls quite often. A drastic change, such as the inclusion of huge sprites and all the spin-dashing action you can expect from a Genesis Sonic game, begs for a certain kind of level design. Unfortunately, that's not what you're gonna get. The color-themed zones run through your standard gamut of green hill, water, volcano, and even an unfortunately vertical desert zone, which makes me think that they didn't realize that Sandopolis was the most annoying thing ever. Hidden throughout these areas are giant rings that take you to the obligatory bonus stages, in which the 5, and yes, there are only 5 this time, Chaos Emeralds can be obtained. These stages, they look like Sonic 3 in that you're on a giant checkered ball running. They play like Sonic 2 in that you've got to grab a certain number of rings and you're limited to running in one direction. Mix them together though, and well, it doesn't work all that well. Especially since you're completely devoid of depth perception at this angle, so you can't really tell where that ring above you is in relation to your current position. Woefully frustrating. For all its shortcomings, this is an 8-bit Sonic game that strives. It serves as the ultimate testament of just what the Game Gear can do. Aside from a little bit of sprite flicker at times, the game itself, design decisions notwithstanding, holds up commendably. Also, I've got infinite respect for Robotnik pulling out a Goku-styled robot, complete with Cloud and Pole. Do have to take issue, though, with the wannabe Opa Opa-styled boss from the first zone. Let's leave such rip-offs in the fantasy zone, please. We've got serious hedgehog business to attend to here.